Welcome to the short version of the Stellaris review. If you're interested in a more detailed analysis of the game, please click the link on screen right now. So what's this game about? It's a game where you control a space empire starting from one tiny planet that just discovered space travel and end up ruling the entire galaxy. You start off with just a few ships and big ideas to one day conquer the galaxy, and along the way meet some other empires, some being very advanced and able to outright crush you. This game is sort of a combination between the standard 4X formula from games like Master of Orion and the formula used for grand strategy games made by Paradox Interactive, like Crusader Kings 2 and especially Europa Universalis. The game can be considered part of both genres, though it's not turn-based, so maybe you can call it just a grand strategy, one that takes place on a galactic scale. There can be a lot to do in this game, especially when it comes to exploration, because you can have your own star fleet of enterprises which you send out to explore strange new worlds and meet new civilizations, and often get killed by them if you don't activate the option that lets them run automatically when they find hostile threats. Research ships aren't combat ships, but you can design both to actually have weapons. Those weapons depend on what you chose first and what you research further down the line. The research is generally the most important part of any 4X space game, because this is where you get to actually become even more sci-fi. And in many aspects, Stellaris does deliver on this. Though it does deliver more on the exploration front, because there you can actually find certain primitive civilizations that you can study or maybe just infiltrate and later enslave. That's a very fun aspect of the game, but technologically wise, it doesn't really scratch that itch, because you don't get to the level where you can just blow up a star or harness the power of a black hole, build a Death Star, or have teleporters or stuff that's really sci-fi. Exploration sort of balances this out, because you can find technology by exploring, by researching ship debris, or by just random events and chains of events that will happen from time to time, depending on what you did. Sadly, research also doesn't let you colonize planets that would otherwise be completely uncolonizable, like barren worlds, toxic worlds, or just places that look like hell. Again, you don't get to the level where you can just become a technological god. You are always limited. Combat in the game takes place in just about the same way it does in every Paradox game of this type, namely you do not get involved. You see the ships, they fight each other, they look great, but you don't actually control them. This is also valid for ground combat, where you just send your armies to deal with the local defenses. Management in this game is, for the most part, simple. You have planets with certain number of slots you can build things in, you have population that needs to be there in order to use those buildings. That population will move, will migrate, will grow, or you can just build robots to do the job instead, but there is a chance that sometimes the robots will go haywire and become their own faction, and then kill you. Though for that you will need to research advanced AIs and synthetics. You have a limited number of planets that you can manage yourself, so at one point you will have to form a sector which is gonna be managed by the AI using a governor that you have appointed. It limits your control, but it does free up more of your attention. In terms of economy, this game goes a bit beyond what the normal Europa Universalis game would, because you have to collect several resources like minerals, energy, food, and certain special resources needed for more advanced things like terraforming some planets and building special things that will allow you to receive extra bonuses. In terms of diplomacy, this game separates empires into two categories. There's the fallen ancient empires that are now basically xenophobic and shut in and don't care about anything, so don't try to anger them, because they do have massive fleets and amazing weapons. And then there are regular empires like yours, with which you can form alliances, you can declare war on and actually have a chance of winning. You can form alliances, you can even form a federation, though diplomacy isn't as fleshed out as I would have liked it, and not as complex as it would be in Crusader Kings 2. It lacks a couple of layers of interactivity, and especially the layer that lets you commit assassinations, replace their leaders with puppets, and in general exert some sort of unseen influence upon your opponent. There's no backstabbing, there's no spying, there's no plotting, and there should be. And while Stellaris can be a lot of fun, it does lack something that really would make it better, namely a mid-game that's a bit more fleshed out, that offers you more reason to keep playing, that gives you a moment-to-moment objective. Mostly because the victory conditions in this game are more or less something you will accomplish never, depending on how big you chose the map to be. If it's 1,000 systems, yeah, you're never gonna finish that game. Or you will next year. Although there are quests and the occasional invasion by an extra-dimensional entity that you angered by building jump drives, for the most part it lacks those objectives that Europa Universalis had, like forming a country by controlling these regions under these certain conditions. There's no extra thing to do, and that extra thing is really important because otherwise you either have to be ruler of everyone or colonize 40% of all habitable planets, and that can be a bit of a chore, especially when you don't have tools like espionage, subterfuge, and the Darth Vader approved blowing up of planets. I have high hopes that these issues will be resolved with time, because Stellaris is at its heart a very good game. It looks good, it sounds amazing, the music is fantastic, and while it may not shape up that well when you compare it to something like Space Empires 5 or 4 or games that have tradition in this genre, it does bring new ideas. It does bring new perspective on certain things, and that's something we can all appreciate, because it will foster creativity in the genre, it will foster competition, and we need that. We always need that. So Stellaris gets a seal of approval. And yes, that is the scoring system I will be using. It is animal based. This is a seal. I'm gonna have more of them. Not more seals, but more animals. And because this is a Paradox game, I am also giving Stellaris the award of Platypus of Perspicacity. What does that mean? It means that this is a very nerdy game made by Paradox Interactive, and their logo is a platypus. Now, I didn't say the scoring system is sane, but it still makes more sense than saying it's an 8 out of 10. Again, if you want to see the full review, click the link and get ready for a half an hour of talking about Stellaris. You can just leave the computer on, walk about the house, do some cleaning, and pretend you're listening. If you enjoyed this show, hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Or, if you thought it was horrible, then share it with your enemies and make them suffer. We shall be your weapon of vengeance. But if you liked what you saw, you could, I don't know, maybe donate, because basically YouTube is horrible at revenue, by using the link in the description, or just buy my book. It's a fantasy book about, well, a lot of stuff. I guarantee it won't suck, and if it does suck, you can find me here and complain about it.